All right, Pip, thanks so much for your time today. We're here at Australian Tourism Exchange in Perth. It's the biggest gathering of the tourism industry in Australia. What's it all about?
So this is our largest platform where we introduce global buyers to Australian experiences and Australian sellers, and it's the biggest platform that we do. So this week we have got over 546 Australian companies selling to over 500 buyer companies.
And it's been around for decades, hasn't it?
So this year we are celebrating our 40th birthday. So we've come a long way since 1979 when we had one market represented in the US. We welcomed 700,000 guests to Australia. Today we have over 30 countries represented in our buyer companies, and we welcome 9.2 million guests to Australia every year.
It's interesting how you talk about experiences in Australia when we talk about who comes to these events, because there are so many experiences now on offer in Australia and the quality keeps getting better, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. We have a real range of tourism experiences represented here. Obviously we've got the accommodation, we have a lot of tour operators, but we have a lot of new smaller niche products, and probably one of the best examples of that is our signature experiences. And so those experiences are a range of collectives that are run by the industry that represent really interesting products that people are interested in doing. So food and wine experiences, golfing experiences, and the like.
Now, a couple of years ago we were talking a lot about Restaurant Australia and what that did for Australia. Is it a blend of food, wine, adventure? Is this what Australia's turned into now from a global standpoint?
So people travel for a range of things. So the main ones from Tourism Australia's point of view is food and wine, so that continues to be a key driver for tourism. It's also our coastal and aquatic experiences. So 67% of the people who come to Australia do want to come and experience our coastal and aquatic experiences, but it's also our nature and wildlife. So it's our big, beautiful open spaces and our unique wildlife. So there's a range of reasons that people come here. It's not one singular driver, but it's a combination of all of those things.
And China's become our biggest inbound market into Australia. Obviously, a lot of hard work paid off over the years in China on how you sold Australia to the Chinese, and a lot of it was through social media platforms and just showing lots of videos and amazing photos of this country to inspire those travellers.
Yeah, that's right. So China is now our largest inbound market. It has been for some years in terms of visitor spend, but it's now our largest market for arrivals as well. So last year we welcomed 1.4 million Chinese to Australia, and that number is forecast to continue growing. So it's been growing very rapidly at double-digit growth. We're looking at that growth slowing to around 6 or 7%, but still growing from a much larger base. Why do people come here? It is interesting, the Chinese traveller is changing quite quickly. So initially when we were marketing Australia to China, it was big groups where they went and they ticked off destinations and did a lot of shopping. We're finding now that the Chinese traveller of today are much more independent. They're looking to really come and experience and immerse themselves in Australia rather than just doing a tick box exercise. And so that's exciting for us because we have a lot to offer in that area.
Absolutely, and I think you look at Australia from an airline growth. I mean, Australia's now more accessible than ever before. I mean, more than a dozen Chinese destinations alone. More flights of Asia even being announced this week. Obviously, it's great you're getting so much capacity out of Asia in particular into Australia right now.
Look, we're an island, so aviation is really important to us, so we do focus on that at Tourism Australia. Last year we saw aviation capacity grow by 4%. That growth is still, a lot of it is still coming out of China. We now have 18 cities in China to 6 cities in Australia, so massive capacity growth, and that has really helped underpin our arrivals growth from China. We do expect to see that rationalising a little bit as the subsidies from the Tier 2 cities come off, but we do expect to continue to see growth from an aviation point of view.
It's exciting when you look at those markets, and the classical markets, your Germany's, England, United States, how are they all going for Australia?
So those markets continue to be hugely important to Tourism Australia. We operate a balanced portfolio, so we want to keep a range of different international guests coming to Australia. So we continue to work hard in those markets. The growth is not as fast as Asia. So Asia is going a lot faster than those more traditional markets, but those traditional markets are continuing to grow, albeit at a much slower pace, and we continue to invest in those markets.
Also exciting, I think, to see other states popping up that are off the radar a lot for international tourists. Things like Tasmania is really getting a lot of recognition around the world now, I think, at the moment, where I think are people coming to Australia looking at other cities now, other destinations, aren't they?
Our repeat visitation from our international guests is growing, and as it grows, people are looking at travelling further afield. Tasmania is going through an absolute golden period of tourism, and it really has what the world is looking for at the moment, and that is pure air, pure land, beautiful food and wine experience. And I think that they've really just hit their straps in terms of understanding who they are, what they offer the international visitor, and really marketing that incredibly well.